the Middle East. So I think that's going to be very interesting. And when you hear about where he has lived, you will understand why he's giving this talk. He was born in Switzerland. He went to school in Switzerland, Swiss Business School, secondary school, public school, all in Zurich. And then he got an accounting degree from a place that I cannot pronounce. Okay. Okay, he'll tell you what it is. He has worked in Switzerland, Tel Aviv, Denmark, California, obviously, Switzerland, Kenya, Venezuela, Kuwait, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and the languages that he speaks. I had to laugh at this. He wrote down German, English, French, Italian, Spanish, Hebrew, and Arabic. But he's not fluent anymore in Arabic because he doesn't use it too often. I just wonder how often he uses the other languages. He also was in the Army. I didn't realize that he was in the Army. He was in the Swiss Army and he was a frontline medic. I'm tremendously honored to introduce my friend Peter Wick.
Thank you all for showing up in such large numbers. We're going to talk a little bit about the Middle East today. We read about it every day in the newspaper, we hear things, and I have some information that might be of interest to you. I have an anniversary coming up in December, 40 years. I feel really old now. 40 years ago, I drove a car from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to Switzerland in 10 days. I was under pressure because I had to reach home, Bern in Switzerland, by 4 o'clock in the afternoon of December the 24th. That left me exactly 1 hour for Christmas shopping. So we show here a map. Jeddah, Saudi Arabia in the south, all the way up through Jordan, Syria, Turkey, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, Italy, and then to Switzerland. Things now versus then are quite a bit different. I hope after the presentation we can talk about it a little. I have some unique insight, I might say. I'm one of the few people that worked in the Middle East. I worked both sides of the field. I did 5 years in Israel, and I did over 10, well, actually close to 15 years in practically all of the Arab countries. Day one, we drove from Jeddah on the Red Sea up through Medina, actually not through Medina, around Medina, we were not supposed to go there, up to the Jordanian border, to the first little town, which was Mudawara. It was an eventful trip in the beginning. We went up the coast. We start, as I said, in Jeddah. Show you some pictures. The city, the old town, shot at night, water tank, and then we come to the new airport. Jeddah is the main entry for the pilgrims going to Mecca. Everybody from all over the world that comes into Saudi Arabia, if they fly in, and that's 90%, they come through the airport of Jeddah. Right now, or last year, I think it was 8 million people within a week. It's a crazy thing. The right-hand picture, lower right-hand picture, is the new Hutch terminal, the Pilgrim terminal, that was built by my sponsor company, who is well known to you, the Bin Laden Group. We drove up the coast, and I show this. The top is a picture of the new refinery in Rabic. When I started out in '76 in Saudi Arabia, this was a fishing village with 3-4 houses, and we went deep sea diving every weekend practically. Now that's what you have. The camel market still exists, however, very popular. This is the car I drove home. The license plates are Saudi Arabia, and there's a significant number. The 743 designates this car belongs to the royal family, namely the Crown Prince. I used that plate in Switzerland for 2 years and never paid a fine.
What happened after 2 years?
I sold it.
What was it?
It was a unique car. It was a, you cannot buy it, nobody could buy it. It was a Toyota Crown, which was a rip-off of the Mercedes 600, which was only made for heads of state. And since I made such nice concrete for his palace, the head of state of Saudi Arabia gave it to me as a present. I actually wanted the Ferrari, but he said, since you're married, you need a better car, you need this one. So I drove it home. We drove direction Medina, where the whole second holy mosque is, and we hit the stretch of road that was freshly asphalted. The crew forgot to put the signs out. We drove right into it. Our car was covered from roof rack to the bottom in black asphalt. It turns out the road crew, who was supposed to put the signs out, went to lunch instead, and to top it off, they were from our parent company. So we carried on to Medina. I went to sleep, but I instructed my co-driver to make sure to hit the ring road around Medina and not drive into it. That's, as non-believers, infidels, whatever you want to call us, not allowed to go there. Well, here is the main mosque in Medina. Fritz missed the turnoff and we were right in front of the main gate. We went on north to Tabuk. Tabuk is probably one of the biggest money maker in the last 20 years for the US Army. They built a new airfield there. They sold them a bunch of F-1 or whatever. And Mr. Cheney and Mr. Rumsfeld came for a visit. And they did a flyover, and then the young prince that flew this one there was so excited he forgot to put the wheels down and crashed it. It is now in the center of a roundabout. On the left is a roundabout. They had a beautification project. Of course, in the Muslim religion you cannot show any persons, so they had to go and search for other things, and some of them to this day I do not understand what they mean, and this is one of them. We continued driving north towards Jordan, typical landscape. The little building that you see on the right, this used to be a station of the Hejaz railroad that went from Damascus to Medina under the Ottoman Empire. That one on the right side is the border post. That's where they checked our papers. And we went to the next village and stayed there overnight. First time in a year we had beer. Amstel beer, never forgot it, was the best beer in my life. We had a boy wash our car with gasoline. That was a new one. Slept a couple hours and then we took off to the north. We went from the south of Jordan to Amman up to Damascus in one day. It's not a very long distance, but it's very complicated because of border crossings and stuff. On the way up, we hit Ma'an. Ma'an is a historically interesting little city. Used to be the headquarters of Lawrence of Arabia. I was there the first time in 1963, and it looked exactly like the postcard up there. Going a little further north is Petra. Petra is a Nabatean city. I think all of you who have never been in the Middle East should put Petra on the bucket list. This is a truly amazing place to visit, and there is nothing else in the world. You might remember it from the Indiana Jones movies, I think, one of them. We went out of on the way to Jordan. Jordan is a relatively modern city, built on several hills, all in limestone, and that's how it looks like. North of Amman is another remarkable place that not many people know about. It's Cherash, old Roman and Greek ruins in fantastic shape. There's a low number of tourists there compared to other places, and it's well worth a visit. We continued on to Damascus. We reached Damascus about 5 in the afternoon. We checked into the hotel, which was a Sofitel hotel from France. French culture all over the place. And unfortunately, I had a talk with the concierge about the nightlife. And he hooked me up. We went to La Cave, the #1 nightclub, probably besides Lebanon at the time. We drank a lot of arak. We learned how to dance. I can still do it. I was good at it. So next day, instead of continuing, we had to nurse our hangovers. We stuck around Damascus. We visited the souk, saw some mosques with this inlay work. Really remarkable. And then, the day after we left Damascus, drove up to the Turkish border into Turkey itself. On the right, that pyramid thing there is a typical grain storage in the northern part of Syria, and on the left we made a mistake. And ended up in Aleppo, which was never on our plan. But it was interesting, we looked at it, and Aleppo today, of course, is big in the news. We will later on see some other pictures. By the way, Aleppo, the oldest continuously inhabited city on earth. We drove up into the mountains, bordering Turkey, and then a fantastic drive from the top of a plateau down to the Mediterranean to Iskenderun. This was really, took about almost 4 hours to winding around that escarpment down to the Mediterranean. We had a good hotel, and actually had a good night's sleep, especially after Damascus. We were still a little suffering. And we took off from the Mediterranean up to Istanbul. The first part, you drive along the Mediterranean, and then you go up to Konya. You have a difference of probably about 4,500 feet in there. So Mediterranean climate down here, and then we hit the first snow. It was December, remember? And this was along the coast, the Crusader Castle in Kony. And just to show you, Kulu is the center of the dervish dancers. I thought you would enjoy that since you are so good at dancing. This, as we went up the escarpment, that's how it looked like. Every half mile was a scene like that. I have been to a lot of countries, and as far as bad driving is concerned, I don't think anybody comes close to the Turks. They are the world champions. We drove up, once we were up on the plateau, it was we had a wind, that non-stop wind, and it was cold. Coming from Saudi Arabia, where we had 90 degrees, it was quite a change. And we made it to Istanbul. We went across the new bridge. We checked into the hotel and decided to go and have dinner. The fish was not as fresh as before. So we spent an extra day in Istanbul. We went to the Hagia Sophia. We went again across the bridge and, of course, into the market. Very interesting. Then, a total change. We were now in Europe, and we had to, for me, first time going into communist country, and we had to go into Bulgaria. A total cultural shock, basically. We made it to the border. We waited in line, and we would have waited probably for 2 days, but we had about a 10, 11-year-old boy show up, knocked on the window, said whether we needed help. He says, yeah. He says, give me $10. I give you to the door of the customs. He says, I give you 20 if you do that in less than 10 minutes, as you say. I tore it in half, gave him half, he took off, came back with a policeman with a flag in the back, and up we went. We went right into the customs house. The customs house was weird. It was a long barrack, and it had about 16 windows. The weird thing was the windows were covered with plywood. You could only see the hands.
Wow.
So, window number 2, I saw my passport. The guy was fiddling around and he found the $20 that was inserted and started stamping like crazy. Then we had to go to window number 5 or 6, I forgot. That was the official money changer, who cheated us like crazy. Then we had to go to 2 more and we were done. We were done. I mean, as I said, instead of 2 days, we made it through in an hour and a half, 2 hours. And we took off. We drove north and we stopped at the village and had our first pork chops in 1 year. Ah, that was good. The bad thing was, as we got to pay, we found out we got even cheated more than we thought. We didn't have enough money. So we had to pay our way out with Deutschmarks and dollars, but we did get it done. We carried on up to Sofia, and then Belgrade. It's kind of a boring drive, and here are some scenes. Some of it was nice, some of it was not nice. we ran out of gas in Belgrade, and we stopped at a totally modern gas station. We pulled up, and the attendant came out. Not only did she look like a communist, she was one. She didn't give us any gas. She said, you have to have vouchers. We didn't have vouchers. So we said, we have dollars, we have Deutschmark, we have Swiss francs. And she started telling us what bad capitalists are. Wouldn't sell us any gas. No way. So we had to unload our car. I had 2 canisters of gas from Saudi in there, filled the car, and drive towards the Mediterranean through all of Yugoslavia. In the middle of a Croatian forest, there was a country store with a gas station. We woke the people up, and the owner and his wife were bad communists. They liked dollars and they liked Swiss francs, and they would give us whatever we wanted. So we were in a hurry. We had to go, but the guy broke out a bottle of Slivovitz, so we drank that. Then we paid him for the gas, and that made him so happy we got another bottle out. So finally we left. About 4 or 6 hours later, we made it to Trieste, and then to Venice, and that's where we stayed overnight. And that was, for us, coming from Saudi Arabia, Venice was paradise. Next day, the last stretch from Venice to Switzerland. Most of you have been in Italy, so I don't need to explain much there. The Dome of Milan, then I had to bring my co-driver home in Zurich, and then went back to Bern and made it, as I said, 4 o'clock. I was home, Christmas dinner, 7 o'clock.
Wow.
Once I finished that travel story, I started thinking about things. Where are we today? What have we had there? And I thought it would be interesting to show you. This is Yugoslavia in 1976. One country. We went from Bulgaria to Yugoslavia and then into Italy. Look at it today. Well, seven different countries. They went, so through these 40 years, countries got taken over. They had wars, most of them because of religion, I might add. And that's how it looks like today. And now, I thought I'd show you that's Syria, and that's why the trip today would not be possible to do. We came up from Jordan into Syria, and if you count these colored boxes there, you see today all the different parties that are fighting each other. And it's impossible to drive from, as we did, from Amman to Turkey. The chance is probably 95% you will get killed. So it's not doable anymore. I mentioned Aleppo before. Here's a couple of pictures, before and after, and it just keeps on going from verse to verse. I pulled this one up because this is the typical situation in the Middle East. Yemen is not much talked about here. But there is another civil war going on, very similar to Syria, very similar to Iraq. And this really shows how this whole thing is structured. In all these Arab countries, what we don't understand is their way of thinking. Number one in their life is religion. Number two is tribes. And number three is family. If you look at our list, dollar, dollar, dollar. And we don't get it. They don't get us, we don't get them, and no matter how hard we try, we just don't get there. So here you have Yemen, you have on the right side the tribes, you have the government forces, then you have Iran involved, and there is Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and guess who else is involved everywhere? It's us. And I don't know why. I don't know why. Yemen has no oil, Yemen has no nothing. It has the Strait of Mandab, so we have a mess in the Middle East, and I'm afraid it's not going to get any better anytime soon. The other thing that I noticed, what has really drastically changed, 4 years ago when I started, the big issue was Israel on the one side and the Arabs on the other. Today, this has basically gone away. The Arabs have such a mess between each other that they don't even talk about Israel anymore, and the Palestinians don't count. So maybe it's going to go on for a while, nobody knows, but I don't have much hope for the Middle East, unfortunately. Thank you.